Hello out there in YW land. I'm Kim Siciliano, the CEO at YWCA Northeastern New York, where every day we work to eliminate racism, empower women, and promote peace, justice, dignity, and freedom for all. We are so happy to have you with us today as we continue. And this is our final one, Making Herstory live conversation with an amazing woman in our community who has made and continues to make history, or herstory, as we like to say every day. But first, a bit of herstory on Women's History Month. Women's History Month is a celebration of women's contributions to history, to culture, and society, and has been observed annually in the month of March in the United States since 1987. The National Women's History Alliance designates a yearly theme for Women's History Month. The 2023 theme is Celebrating Women Who Tell Our Stories. This theme recognizes women past and present who have been active in all forms of media and storytelling, including print, radio, TV, stage, screen, blogs, podcasts, in the news, and social media. Today, we have a woman who has been in the news in our community for a while, Schenectady City Council President Marion Porterfield. Porterfield was born in Georgetown, South Carolina, is a Democrat, is the first Black woman to serve as council president, and 10 years ago became the first Black woman to serve on the city council. A Hamilton Hill resident of 40 years, Marion is a longtime Schenectady resident who has been involved in community work for many years. Marion holds the community in her heart and firmly believes in giving back, and recently announced her bid to run for mayor of Schenectady, as you can see from behind her. Welcome, Marion.
Hi, Kim. Thank you so much. And thank you for the YWCA for actually doing this Herstory Month. And for inviting me to be a guest. I appreciate you so much.
We are so honored to have you once again. Marion and I had a nice conversation a few months back when we were here for the butterfly effect, and here we now are on Making Herstory. So let's start off with an easy question.
Okay.
Your name, your full name, so if you got a middle name, what you do, who you are, who is Marion Porterfield, and why do you do what you do in our community to such a great degree?
So my full name is Marion Porterfield. No middle initial,
okay.
No middle name. And why do I do what I do in the community? Well, I'm going to say it's because I believe in my community. And I believe if you want to see change, if you want to see things happen, you can't just tell other people what needs to happen. You need to be a part of that process. And I've been a part of that process even before I got into political life. Working in my church, just working in my community, being a Girl Scout leader, which today they would probably call being a mentor to younger girls, because I feel that it's really important to be engaged with your community. If you want to see a change, you have to be a part of that change or that improvement or that whatever growth that you're looking for. That is why I, am involved and have stayed involved in my community, because I can't leave it to someone else, look in the mirror and said, something needs to happen, and who's going to do it. When I look in the mirror, I see that who is that's going to do it.
Point right at yourself.
Yes.
It's you.
That's
so
right.
Who is Marion Porterfield? So when I say that, teacher, mentor, you use those words. Are there any other words that describe you?
Friend. And let's see, just a community supporter, I would say.
Okay, community supporter.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. So talk about the traits of the women in your family. Okay. And what were they like? Tell us about the Porterfield history, lineage, and how has that informed who you are today?
Okay, so Porterfield is obviously my name on my father's side, but my mother's maiden name was Alston. And so the Alston women are very strong women. For most of my life, my mother was a single parent, and she raised 3 very strong women. I have 2 other sisters, and one of my sisters served in the military for 20 years. She attained the rank of lieutenant colonel. She was in the JAG Corps. And my other sister worked for a number of years with the postal system. And she also is a strong advocate for her son, actually, who has a disability, but she's very much involved in that. And just, she's the person that when you want an answer and you want a straight answer, then you go to her, because she's going to give it to you straight. No holds barred. So you know that you're going to get the truth that you're looking for. And I have numerous aunts who were also very strong women. and took care of their families, whether they were married or not. They were like the matriarch of their family. And we called her my grandmother when she's really my great aunt. She lived to be 104 years old. So yes, so that's that great. So we were able to get some of the wisdom passed down from her. As you said, my roots are in South Carolina, so she was like our living historian of the things that happened in our family. And we spent a lot of time visiting her when she was alive in Connecticut. So I come from a very strong family of women, of men as well, but of women that see a task ahead of them and don't ask who's going to do it or how hard is it going to be, but just really get started towards working on that task and also empowering themselves as well as their families.
Wonderful. So, Marion, before you got into politics, what was your journey? How did you, what did you do?
Okay. Well, for 13 years, actually, almost 14, I worked for an insurance company. I was in the corporate world. I also worked for the state of New York. I've worked for the Schenectady County. And I came to the conclusion that that type of work was really not where my heart was. Okay. It wasn't that it wasn't rewarding, but it wasn't fulfilling. And so I really felt that my goal, my responsibility is actually ministry to others. And some people may think, well, you're not really in ministry when you're doing, in politics. In fact, you are, because you're ministering to the needs of your community. You're ministering to the needs of the residents that live there. And part of ministering is listening to what people's needs are. And that, for me, is a huge part of what I do. Listening to what the needs are, not just saying, this is what I think should happen, but rather, together, let's talk about what should happen. Mm-hmm. So, my years of corporate work were fine, and I did the work, but I realized while doing it that I did not feel like I was fulfilled or fulfilling my mission in life to do that. So I started, I went into the nonprofit world, and I'm sure that that I ran an organization that helped women go back to work. And the way I started that was I was watching TV one night, and there was this woman who called into work and said she couldn't come in. And the reason she couldn't come in is because she didn't have any clothes to wear. Mm. I said, that makes no sense when, most of us have more clothes than we could possibly use. And so I started an organization that helped women get clothing to go to interviews and go to work. But not only that, help them with their, build up their self-esteem, and let them know that it's possible and you're worth it.
So you need to feel good on the inside just as much as you do on the outside.
You absolutely do.
Good,
yes.
Good point. Yes. Love that. Now, what makes you a good leader? Why do we need more women in leadership roles in our community? Talk a little bit about that.
Well, I believe that women are, for the most part, are better listeners. Okay. And I think that it takes that to be a leader. And also, I believe that women, just by nature of most people are mothers or have family members where they have to delegate. So they're able to delegate some responsibilities and to also be inclusive. That's really important because a real leader really includes the people that you're leading, or otherwise you're just taking a walk.
Nice. I like that.
So those things are really important. And I think those are things that make me a good leader. And I'm willing to listen to other people's ideas and take them into consideration. Without that, then I've just basically sat down and told you, here's what I think you should do, and then go and do it. And people aren't looking for marching orders in a leader, but they're looking for a leader who listens to them, who makes them feel like they are part of the decision-making process. And therefore people are more invested and will respond to that type of leadership, as opposed to when they feel like it's more like a dictatorship and you're just telling them what to do.
Great points. Love it. So talk a little bit about some important gains that you feel women or femme presenting folks have made throughout history. How far have we come? Where do we have to go? But have we made any gains that resonate with you?
Well, because I'm a person who has to be elected to do what I do, I think the right to vote is huge. Obviously, and probably everyone mentioned that. The right to vote is very important. And also women's reproductive rights. And, I know that a lot of, there's a lot of controversy about that, but I believe that we should have control of our bodies.
Sure.
So We've made some gains there, but we've also had some losses there as well. And
is there anything that you find that's challenging for us right now that you see as something that we're going to have to try to gain back, for example?
well, I think the reproductive rights is definitely one of them. And I think I don't see us making as much progress in terms of leadership and breaking glass ceilings as we were. There was a time when women were just making all, kinds of strides and breaking glass ceilings. And I don't think we're doing that as much anymore. And we should do more of that. I was speaking to a young lady last night. She told me she's just going to turn 30. And where she is, she basically works with all men on the level that she is. And I'm not going to, of course, name that organization, but that's really surprising in 2023 that you have an organization where almost all of the top leadership is men. So there are some industries where we would need to see more female leadership.
Okay, great answer. So when you look back at history, we know what we've all learned in our history books. And we know that many times what's written in those history books, maybe more so now, it's a little bit more reflective of many different perspectives. But when I was in school, it was not necessarily that. So how has history looked different for folks who have who come to us with different perspectives? For example, trans folks, immigrants, Black, Latinx, Asian, disabled. Why is it important to look at history, recognizing that women all look different and come from many different walks of life and lived experience? And how was history different for them?
So I don't think that history really included so many women. I think that mostly when you hear about the history of women, it's the suffrage movement, and you don't hear about people from any other walks of life. In fact, me as a Black woman, probably mostly the history that you hear about is Harriet Tubman. But there are so many other Black women who have done things like the movie Hidden Figures. You didn't really hear about those women and what their role was. And so those kind of things I think are not included in history for whatever reason, but there's just a couple of people. I'm trying to think of someone that they was prominent that was like even disabled, and no one really comes to mind. So I think that sometimes those who write the history books, I should say, kind of leave that out. And even if a woman does fall into a certain category, the only way she's identified is as a woman. And they're not
or
included.
If she did something
else.
So monumentally amazing. So you almost have to overachieve to be recognized.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Good points there. Okay. So talk about the feminist movement. Have we succeeded? Why or why not? Throughout history, feminist movements have often focused really on white women. So how do we continue in our future to include all women in the feminist movement?
Well, I think that we have to recognize that some women are being left out of that. And that, as you said, it did mostly include white women. And we have to get past the fact that there are differences in terms of ethnicity and gender identity and all of that to recognize that we're all women. And so I think that is a part of, in the feminist movement, I think that's been a bit of a failure.
Okay.
To not be inclusive of other women, of other ethnic groups, and so of other abilities.
Okay.
So I think that is a place that we could probably focus more attention in terms of that. And frankly, when I think about it, I want it to just be that women are making strides. It's why have we had to have a movement for so long? Why aren't we just being recognized for what we bring to the table? That is something, you talk about the feminist movement, but why aren't we just saying, hey, we're women, we're getting it done. And why do we have to have a movement to continually to be accepted and recognized? And that's something I think that we should take a look. It's like, hey, we're here. We're not going anywhere. And just accept us as a part of society.
So on that note, talk a little bit about your run for mayor. What led you to that? Because I do want to ask about it. It's something you've got right behind you. I keep seeing it, and I think that our viewers out in YW land would love to know as well.
Well, I decided to run for mayor, and actually, so probably people probably think, oh, she's been thinking about it for years, and I wouldn't say. And I've been on the council for 11 years,
Right.
so I didn't get on the council thinking one day that's what I want to do. However, within the past couple of years, I did feel like that's something that I wanted to do. I feel like I bring to the table kind of a different perspective and a more inclusive perspective,
Okay.
and also a more transparent perspective. And because of my community work, the community still resides in my heart, as you said that I say, which I do. And we need to have more inclusiveness within our community. I hear from people all the time. I've run for office a number of times, last time in 21, to be back on the city council. And consistently, I heard that people did not feel that the community was really involved enough and the neighborhoods were not getting attention. I heard from a man last night that he felt like, I just feel like you've forgotten us here. And it's not what would be considered a lower income neighborhood. It's Woodlawn. I'll just say it. It's Woodlawn, but they even feel that they're not being included and recognized, and their needs recognized is what I should say. So for me, it's really about making sure that we meet the needs of the community, and we have a comprehensive plan. We haven't had a comprehensive plan since Mayor Stratton.
Okay. So how do we be more, how can we be more inclusive with our communities, engaging every single neighborhood? Because you're right, Schenectady has many different neighborhoods scattered throughout. So how do we increase that inclusivity?
So that's why I mentioned the comprehensive plan.
Okay.
When it was done by Mayor Stratton, went around to all the neighborhoods. You could still find it online, to all the neighborhoods, and said, okay, what are the concerns in your neighborhood? What are the concerns in your neighborhood? And each neighborhood got to say what is important to them, which may not be important to another neighborhood. So that's how we do it. We go around and talk to people, and then you make sure that you're hearing specifically from those neighborhoods and see what can be addressed, create a timeline, things that can be done right now, and then projects that may take a little bit longer. I can say that at the time I was not on the city council.
Okay.
My neighborhood took a look at our comprehensive plan. And we looked through and said, what has been done, what can be done, what has been promised. And then we had the ability to go back to the city and say, these are the things you said would happen based on what our input was. And this is what has happened. This has not happened. And this is what we'd like to see you move forward on. So it's sort of a barometer to go by, that you have something to take a look at.
Like benchmarks, right? So benchmarks, so you can see, have we made any progress?
And if you don't have a plan, then how do you know where you are? So you have to have a plan and execute that plan, so that you know where you are, and you go back and look at your plan, and your plan needs to be updated because things change. So for me, that is really important, that we do that comprehensive plan, and going to the neighborhoods, talking to everyone. We did it with the ARPA money. We went to the neighborhoods and spoke with everyone. But in terms of the overall city plan, we definitely need a comprehensive plan. And that's my goal, of engaging the neighborhoods, engaging people in the neighborhoods, and hearing directly from them what they feel needs to happen in their communities.
I appreciate you sharing that with us. So I have my last question, because we're at 20 minutes already almost.
Okay.
But let's dive in here a little bit. If you could speak to any woman in history, think back. Who would it be? You're sitting on a park bench, and all of a sudden you think about it. There she is. She appears. Who would it be? What kinds of questions would you have, and why choose that person?
Okay, that would be Shirley Chisholm.
Okay. Talk a little bit about Shirley and why, and what you would talk about.
So she was the first Black woman to run for president, and she was unbought and unbossed. And I felt like she was very brave, and she stood for what she believed in, regardless of all the things that she had to face. And so I would just talk to her about what that journey was like, what things happened to her that I could learn from and use myself to be successful in politics, and also to thank her for paving the way. And even though she wasn't successful, I believe that what she did paved the way for women, especially women of color, to be able to move forward in political circles. So she would be the person I'd want to sit and talk with and ask a lot of questions of, and again, say thank you to her for her work.
Okay,
that
great
helped me get where I
answers.
am.
Great answer. So, is there anything else you want us to know? Is there anything you want viewers to know about Marion as a person, as someone who is in politics, running for mayor now? Is there anything else that you want to get out there into the community?
So I just wanted to say that I'm very accessible, and if people want to reach out to me to know more about my thought and how we can create a shared vision for the city, I'm certainly open to that. But they have to use my personal email, which is marion.porterfield@gmail.com. And to just remember that, we are all God's children. And so we should want to be more inclusive and accepting, not even accepting, but loving of each other, because we have a common goal to make our city the best place that possible to live and that people want to live. And so we collectively can make that happen, but we have to work with each other and not have differences based on anything, but to say we're just all human beings. That we share. We're all human beings.
We are
So
all humans.
yes. And so how do we work together to make this the most fabulous city? And we don't have to agree on everything, but we can still give a level of respect for the other person's position and beliefs and values.
Well, I've always found Marion to be accessible. I want to thank her. Here she is with me today. We so appreciate you being part of Making Herstory live streaming event. Some words to describe our discussion, as well as to describe Marion: a mentor, a listener, a mother, invested, a delegator, inclusive, a community supporter, a sister, an aunt, empowered, and making sure that in everything that Marion does, she is providing ministry. So thank you, all of you out there in YW land, for spending some time with us today and all this month celebrating amazing women like Marion who have made history. I spoke with Jamaica Miles, I spoke with Katrina Garcia and Mary Liz Stewart, Carmel Patrick, Doreen DeToro, Bernice Rivera, and now today, Marion. This is me signing off for 2023 and feeling so honored for being able to share this amazing series. Check out Celebrating Women and their contributions with all of you out there in YW land, with one final shout out to Ray Frazier, local artist, multi-talented Schenectady native. She is the owner and creator of the brand Art Money, and I am wearing one of her original creations. Ray was at our gala, did an art in motion piece. If you want to know more about Ray and the amazing pieces of art that she does, hats, sweatshirts, she did our mural here in our lobby. Please check out Ray Frazier and Art Money. And again, Marion, thank you. It has been a true pleasure and honor to have you with us here.
Thank you so much, Kim. I've enjoyed my time, and I really appreciate you always including me.
Not a problem. Have a great day, everyone, and enjoy this weekend.